Welcome to One Very Angry Honda, because this week for 20 points you can pick up the 2015 Honda Ridgeline Baja trophy truck. Will it have VTEC? I don't know. So from stock this thing has 550 brake horsepower, 470 foot-pounds of torque and weighs a staggering 4,700 pounds. And the best bit is, you don't even need a DLC for this one because it's from the base game. I've got to say, it does look very interesting indeed. I don't know what that was that went past, that also sounded very interesting. Take a look at this thing, it does look pretty cool. You got a giant spare tyre on the back there as well, and then going to the inside it does look very interesting. There's I think what could be considered a screen over there. We've also got ourselves some safety netting and a few dials and gauges, but now let's go ahead and take a listen to what this thing sounds like. So here we are now in the upgrade shop. The first thing we're doing is jumping straight over to conversion and then over to engine swaps to see what's available for this thing. We've got ourselves a few. We have ourselves a racing 3-litre inline-6 turbo, which is mad, a 4.8-litre V10. We also have ourselves the racing 7.2-litre V8 alongside the 7.4-litre V8 twin turbo. So essentially you've got quite a lot for this thing, and they're all very powerful engines indeed. And if you want, you can also go ahead and make this thing all-wheel drive just here, and I think we might do that in just a bit. However, something I find very interesting with this is you can't change the type of tyre, so you're stuck with whatever this thing has from stock. In the meantime, Mechanic Mac has been very busy and made us this little cool A-Class rally tune. Let's go ahead and bring up the share code. There it is. Feel free to go ahead and grab that for yourself. We're going to do that, install the parts, and see what we've got to work with. So those upgrades were now at £4,333 with a whopping 865 brake horsepower right up at the top of A-Class. So with those upgrades applied, here and now in the paint shop, let's go ahead and take a look. There's nothing in advance like normal, and we only have ourselves at one manufacturer colour, which is a little bit of a shame, but what can you do? Hey, at least you can go ahead and paint the entire body of this thing. So if you wanted to, we could take the paint all the way down here and we could have a trophy trunk in bright pink. Why? Why not? So now we get to do one thing that we've not done in a very long time, or at least for quite a fair few car showcases now, and that's take something off-road racing. Because of course, trying to take this thing road racing would be, well, let's put it this way, not the smartest idea. So let's go ahead and jump onto the dirt and see what this thing can do. And away we go. We're now up against a whole bunch of other various assorted trophy trucks, one AR12, and also a, I think that's an Extreme E up front, which I definitely want to try and win against. So let's go ahead and see what this thing can do as soon as we get onto the dirt, which I think hopefully should be soon. Come on the inside, can we get the checkpoint? We can, I don't know how, but we did. And now we're on the dirt, it's time to put the tyres to use, the power to use, and fly past literally everybody. Or at least that's the intention. Now I've done a little bit of research into this truck, and I've got to say it's very interesting indeed, because this truck was first unveiled at the 2015 SEMA Motor Show, which was very interesting indeed, and I believe it marked Honda's first venture back into off-road racing. However, then we go from concept cars to actual production numbers, of which for this thing are all over the place because there is no specific number that I could actually find of how many of these were made total. However, I was able to find an estimate of how much it would cost you to build one of these things, and is anywhere between 1 to 500,000 US dollar, which is honestly absolutely insane. By the way, that's about this in pound sterling. Right, there's a Jeep up front. Can we dive on the inside of the Jeep? We can. We've just got to try and make it stick. That was a wall. That was also the Jeep again. Something tells me that Jeep's not going to be very happy. However, it's just going to have to put up with it because across the line we go with a very nice first place. We definitely did have to fight for, and a time of 2 minutes 20. Now, I've got to say that was a very close race, especially towards the end. However, now we get to go ahead and jump to this week's Backstage, which I can promise you now is very interesting indeed, because it is Toyota versus Mitsubishi. On the right, we have got ourselves the Galant VR4 and the Mitsubishi FTO versus the Toyota Chaser GT and the Toyota MR2. Now, I've been after a second Toyota Chaser, and I can't get one on the auction house, so for that reason, this lot's getting my vote. Do you agree? Let me know. However, now it's time for an attempted drag build. I say attempted and drag build very much in quotation marks because, again, with the tyre problem from earlier, it's been very tricky to work with. However, we've got the Oh Look a Penny, which is Mac's drag tune for this thing. Let's go ahead, bring up the share code. There it is. Feel free to grab that for yourself. We're going to do that, install it, and see what we can do. I've got to say, that name is brilliant. So with this tune, we're a little bit heavier at £4,434 with a whopping 1,750 brake horsepower. This thing's going to be mad. Well, now here we are over at the festival. Let's go ahead and see. Can we get a wheelie check out of this thing? I don't know if we can, but somehow we actually still can. This thing is not on drag tyres, but we can still get a little bit of a wheelie out of this thing, which is mad. Mac, I don't know how you done it, but you done it again. By the way, the reason there was the oh look a penny is when you go on the brakes, it does that. In fact, doing that, I'm pretty sure I just felt it hit the ground. Anyway, here we are now over at the edge of the drag strip for what is most likely the stupidest drag racing test ever. Roll launch control, and away we go. Let's go ahead and see what we can do with this thing. 1,750 brake horsepower in this of all things, a 4,000 pound trophy truck. If we get anything good out of this, I'm going to be very, very intrigued and honestly a little concerned. So the camera at 185 and off the end of the drag strip at a whopping 201 miles an hour and 0 braking. Although it's a trophy truck, I don't know why I'm expecting a trophy truck to have brakes. However, now it is our turn to go ahead and try out this thing for ourselves. So we're going to jump to conversion. We're going to go ahead, we're going to throw in the 1,750 brake horsepower engine. We're also going to chuck in some all-wheel drive while we're at it. And we're also going to go ahead and try and make the tyres a little wider, both at the front up to 345s and at the back also up to 345s as well. The only problem is we can't really upgrade too much of this thing, so I'm gonna hope we get something good, and if we get the option to throw on turbos, we do, and we get to throw on anti-lag, I'm definitely doing that. Did any of that last sentence make sense? Yeah, those stats look alright. However, now I've got to try and do the impossible. I need to tune this thing, a massive trophy truck, to go and do a top speed run. Although before we go any further, we've got ourselves this week's Forzathon shop. We've got ourselves the number 58 Extreme E race car, we've got a Horizon Backstage pass, the black plaid joggers, the number 34 Andretti Beetle. We also have ourselves the dial-up modem car horn, which sounds a bit like this. Which also kind of reminds me a bit of how my brain is currently handling recording. We also have ourselves the Horizon Super Wheelspin and then regular Horizon Wheelspin as well, and now out to the motorway. And now it's time for the game that we play every single video of how close can we get to the motorway grate. Hopefully we got a little closer today. I mean, we did good last week, but have we got there today? It turns out, no, we're still miles away. And now here starts one of the dumbest top speed runs of all of them. Right, let's go ahead, get ourselves onto some launch control, and away we go. We've got 1,750 brake horsepower, a massive trophy truck, and we're going for a top speed run. Not gonna lie, did not think I'd be doing this today. Still, let's take this thing and see how well it does. And out of the speed zone, 227.36. We still have ourselves the downhill and the speed cameras to go, and this thing is actually kind of accelerating, which is really surprising, especially considering we've gone over 230. Anyway, the camera's up here somewhere. There it is, 231.91 going downhill, 234, 235, 236, 237. It just keeps on going up. I think 237 might be our limit. The usual road signs there. On the brakes we go. Can we stop with a decent amount of brakes and a decent amount of tyres left? The answer to that is a very solid maybe. Although we're not quite done yet, because now in terms of ideas we go from dumb to even dumber. We're taking this thing through a drift zone on road of all things with a giant trophy truck. Again, did not think I'd be doing this today either, but let's go ahead and see what do we get on run number 1 at 39,771 points. Which out of this thing is nothing short of a miracle. Although, can we beat that in round number 2? Let's go ahead and chuck this thing in and find out. Again, this thing is stupidly heavy. Dumb amount of power, it barely slides, but we can still somehow get a score out of this thing of 32,700. I also want to point out this thing handles like a cruise liner. So I guess all I can say is thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to pick up one of these things, definitely go for it. It's only 20 points and shouldn't take up too much of your time to get. And of course, with the right tune, this thing is nothing short of, honestly, ridiculous but brilliant. So would I recommend this thing? Actually, I probably would, not gonna lie, it's kind of fun. However, like I say, that is it for this video on the Honda Ridgeline trophy truck. It is dumb fun, stupid amounts of power, definitely pick one up for yourself. In the meantime, feel free to go ahead and like, share, comment, subscribe, all that cool stuff. We've just taken out a cactus midair, and I'll go ahead and see you all in the next one. Thank you very much for watching, tech out, see ya! And the award for the most chaotic outro goes to that one.